into the continuation of the revision request for 58 South Street. Did you have something you wanted to start with from the questions that we had last time?
I believe, so we sent you a letter on January 3rd, and that addressed your questions. In your package, you requested a tabulation of the waivers, those prior granted, those that are no longer needed, and those that require modification. So we gave you that in our bundle here. I'm happy to go line by line if that's something the board feels they need, or if have a chance to read it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory in that. I just briefly reviewed Mr. Miller's letter.
If I could interrupt you for just 1 second. Just to let the folks know that the hearing is being recorded and your image or name may appear on the recording. I did that without the prompt, which is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's quite all right. One of the questions you had, or that arose at the end of the last meeting, was if the nitrogen loading rate that was previously approved could indeed be utilized. In looking at Mr. Miller's letter, it appears that he's confirmed that with DEP, that is applicable to the site. We've also outlined in our letter to you the regulation from Title V that allows that to be used. That's a standard use in Title V. And then Mr. Rhodes' attorney also prepared a draft of the deeds that were for each lot, and those included restrictions related to what can and can't be done within the easement area, and that's included in your package as well. So I think that summarizes the questions that you had last time we left.
Mr. Miller, I read what you mailed us today, and you have a copy of it, do you not?
I just received it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. I thought I got the normal distribution list, but I think I only did the ZBA, so I'll double check that when I get outside.
Oh, thank you.
But what he's saying is correct. I did get through to DEP, Dave Boyer at DEP about the loader requirements, and it does, innovative alternative does allow them to go up to 550 gallons per minute with your approval.
Okay.
I'm sorry, gallons per day with your approval.
Okay, there was a couple of questions were raised in my mind by what you said today. When we talk about having an annual inspection of the system, how do we guarantee that, or who's the policeman for that?
So those reports are submitted directly to the Board of Health. So the Board of Health ultimately will be policing that. These systems do require regular checks and balances that any deficiency in them will be reported to the Board of Health right away.
And what safeguard do we need, or do they, there's no fine or anything, how do we make them comply?
It's part of the property that they just have to take care of. They would not be able to convey the property if it wasn't.
Well, I understand that, but we're talking about someone might live there for 20 years and never do the testing.
That wouldn't be the case. So the reports have to be submitted on set basis per the technology's approval. So those get sent to the Board of Health every year. They have to do that.
And if they don't,
The Board of Health would step in then.
and they would be able to, I'm just looking at
The Board of Health sends a letter first, and then they alert their bank, and they put the bank on notice that they're out of compliance. Their mortgage, their lender.
what if there's no mortgage? I know several people that don't have a mortgage.
They're fortunate, but this is the same, doing anything greater than this is holding us to a higher standard than everybody else. This commonly goes on throughout the state, and this is a procedure. So to try to go greater and higher than that is in a sense reinventing the wheel, or over involving other parties. And in past meetings, I've heard that the board doesn't want to have to police speed bumps or other things that go on in different areas. So this is strictly the way it's been set up and the way it's operated in the state, and it's the guidelines in which it's meant to go.
Could we put in, you're gonna have, like an HOA, right?
We have and it's an HOA that,
For the road and that sort of thing?
yes.
Is there anything that could be put in that would police?
I'm just, if I can interrupt, I'm not familiar with this process, so would question, number one, how does the homeowner know that they're required to do this? Somebody comes to you and buys a house.
They're contracted, they can't own the property until it's contracted. The minute they own the property, they're under contract.
There's actually a deed notice that
Okay.
runs with it, so
That's what I'm asking.
they don't go into blind. It says that
Yeah.
this residence is serviced by whatever technology, this is the requirements. And then if the Board of Health is incapable of acting on this too, Mass DEP can step in as well. This is a technology that's received general approval from Mass DEP, and they have certain safeguards that they spelled out. But you have the documents from the prior application, the approval for this. It's the same technology. It's a pretty lengthy document that says what needs to be done.
Right, but there was some oversight in that there was a condo agreement, okay? And the condo agreement could set fines or whatever they wanted to on people, or step in and do it themselves. In this instance, these are individual homeowners.
Yeah, already what's in place from the state is a much higher level of reporting than what you would have with an individual home. So your scenario where you had somebody that was fortunate enough to have no mortgage and decided just to let the system go,
Or inadvertently, out of stupidity, you know.
yeah, so that would not happen because it has annual inspections that are required. And if they're not doing it, the Board of Health says, we didn't receive this checklist from whatever lot it is, and that would force them to have that inspection completed. If they continue to ignore that, the Board of Health could choose to involve the EPA at that point.
There's actually more enforcement here than there is for a conventional system for somebody who buys a house on any lot and chooses not to pump their tank for their entire life. There's no safeguard whatsoever. Here, the safeguard's already in place.
Right, but in that instance, they're hurting themselves if they don't pump the tank, because eventually things will back up into their bathtub.
That's in the same instance,
I'm just asking if there could be something in the HOA that it has to be filed with the HOA or something, and then the neighbors are all on notice, so the neighbors would have a vested interest in seeing that it got done.
you can put in the HOA that if anybody is in violation, they get CC'd on all the information between the Board of Health and the DEP.
Or just require them to submit to the HOA on an annual basis, in addition to the Board of Health.
Excuse me, Lynn, I never received this, I don't think Jenny did either. Do we have more copy of that? The Haley Award?
I have two. Here, I brought my own.
Oh, okay, thank you very much.
You should have a copy of that in your stack.
This is the one you made copies of,
Yeah,
right?
I gave one to everybody earlier.
Maybe it's because you stole two.
No,
I've got
he
more
made
here.
copies of sets. This was here when I got here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn, one of the other things here, Madam Chairman, is that we will make it a condition upon, there will be a finding, if the board chooses to allow this modification, there will be a finding that the modification has been allowed due to the innovative septic system, and we can then condition that the reports go to the Board of Health, they CC to the building department, and they're CC to the homeowners association. And therefore, if that's not done, they're in violation of the comprehensive permit. And therefore, the building inspector can then enforce the comprehensive permit. So you then have the Board of Health who has very strong powers of enforcement under Chapter 111. So they can enforce it. You also have the building inspector enforcing it. And then I think the idea of the HOA is a good idea, because you then have
The neighbors.
everyone put on notice in the development. So I think that's probably
Sufficient.
safeguarding it. enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, my concern is, the initial sale I'm not too concerned with, but 5 years from now, if somebody buys one, you build them next year, somebody buys it next fall, and then they sell it 5 years from now, how does that new buyer
It's
find out
on the
that?
deed. There is a deed restriction. Seth is correct. There is a deed restriction. It's put on there.
Then
And
it's
it's a
still-
notice that the closing attorney is responsible to show the buyer. And they have to sign, they have to acknowledge that they've seen it.
One of the other questions that I know Mr. Miller raised was, and this has come to fruition in other areas, we're looking to keep the units affordable, and that would include having any HOA fees or whatever be a percentage of the overall. How expensive is this testing that has to be done individually?
The last time I heard it, 500?
I thought it was less than that, but.
Yeah, it's, I mean, pumping itself is 250. That's, we should all be doing annually or biannually, and this is an annual inspection. The number I heard is $500. That is contracted to, it has to be a person that's licensed to inspect these.
But that's also an additional cost on the affordable units, right?
Correct. They all have the exact same infrastructure.
That'll be the same, each person, whether it's affordable or
Because it's
not.
an individual responsibility as opposed to the common driveway or whatever we're calling the road.
What's the name of the system again?
Microfast.
Because we've run into situations where HOA fees, or condo fees, or any other fees, are you doing trash altogether?
No,
Each?
they each have a garage, so they could have their own bin stored in the garage like a typical household.
I'm talking about pickup.
And the pickup, they could
That
contract
would
however
be
they
a-
want, they could go to the dump,
Right.
whatever homeowner chooses.
So with the difference between a condominium and an HOA is that an HOA is more of an enforcing body than they enforce things like no clotheslines, no RVs in the front yard, things like that. They're not really a contributing factor to the development, meaning like with trash and things like that, which is why we wanted a condominium association in the beginning. It is more beneficial.
But with the HOA, they are going to have monthly or annual fees to each of the units, right?
Yes, correct, it would generally be less than.
Snow removal on the road or...
Right, but the HOA fees are generally less than they are for condo fees. Condo fees, what I've been finding out from across the state is after things get turned over, they run rampant and people want all kinds of extra services. And the HOA fee goes up without you get a few trustees and the fee goes up and the affordable can't do anything about it. Here's a case where the affordable can pay for and do what they want to. They have their own yard, they have their own home, and just because somebody else signs on to get something else doesn't mean they have to sign on to it. Just say, hey, I want to get shrubs trimmed, they don't have to do that. This is a much safer format for,
So long as we keep the HOA fees at a percentage of the...
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So it looks like the annual fee is usually around not more than 300.
I still think if something happened and they said, well, we've got to redo the road, so we're going to have an assessment.
Oh, no, you're right. No, I'm just saying about the annual inspection. They do have to have the homeowners association has to have it by a percentage for the affordables.
And we had spelled it out, we had actually revised that, and we had a different split on those fees, and you had asked us to change
Lower their
the
fees.
language on that to
Right.
basically lock in the affordables at a lower rate than the,
We worked with Chris and Costa to write that agreement, and ultimately,
But this fee in particular for that annual inspection, because it's an individual, each individual housing unit will have to do their own, they don't get a break on that.
No, that's correct.
They're gonna pay the full
Yeah.
amount, whatever it costs to have it done. You know, them and their neighbors are all gonna pay the same, so
It all weighs into the calculation for them to qualify.
well, that's the problem, is we've had other,
Issues with that kind of,
all those fees and everything add up, and it
But that
eventually
one- that
makes
one's
the
not- that
the
one's
affordable
not
units no
generally
longer affordable.
A rising fee.
well, I mean, we're talking, you know, it adds another $50 a month, and obviously, these are low and moderate income, so.
Correct.
Mr. Miller, did you have anything else that we should review?
No, I covered most of it in the last meeting. That was the outstanding item, was to
So
confirm.
basically, you've said that the granting of most of these waivers would not, would be allowable and would be within reason or whatever. And the only couple of things I noticed, so remind me, knowing that you did this fairly recently, was the cost to the affordable units for the testing. And there was something else.
I'd recommend it because you're concentrating all the, really the septic
The
systems.
mounding.
The mounding. The septic systems are being kind of concentrated in the center of the site. The wells are at the perimeter. That's going to create a hydraulic gradient from the septic to the wells. Is look at it as part of the, to require a mounding analysis, which may not usually be required for a single-family home. But because it's a concentrated project, because of the nature of it, to add that restriction on there, if you were to consider this waiver, and then have that reviewed by the Board of Health.
Have you had a chance to read through this?
I just got it now, so
Okay, where was that?
it's the last one though. I did-
Yeah, the last 14, response C.
And how do you feel about that?
If the Board of Health feels that during the approval of the systems that mounting calculations are provided, we're happy to provide. Usually that is for, the threshold for that is 2,000 gallons per day for an individual system. These individual systems are at 330 gallons per day, so they're on an individual basis extraordinary below that threshold. But we can certainly provide mounting calculations during the Board of Health approval process. This site, we've dug numerous test holes. The limiting factor on this is not the groundwater, was the ability for a machine to actually continue digging deep enough. So I think the bottom of our holes was in excess of 14 feet. We never encountered groundwater in them, so it should not be a concern.
But you have no objection to do the doing
No,
the
that's
testing?
something that needs to be submitted to the Board of Health during that approval process. I don't. think
But
it-
we could require,
Yeah,
given
absolutely.
the peer review, that as part of that
And we'd be happy
process.
to, when Mr. Rhodes enters that process, we'd be happy to resubmit those to Mr. Miller as well, if that's something he feels necessary.
Okay, does anybody else have anything that they? And we have all the verbiage now for they've got to maintain the surface of those areas.
We do.
The,
I have some comments on that language.
and the screening is all what it is supposed to be, correct?
Correct.
We also had one section that was like open or something, or crossed over somebody else's property.
So we, in response to concerns of future access to getting to the well area, we provided on either side of the development, there's a separate 20-foot wide easement to allow equipment to get back there in the future should it be needed. And those are noted on the plan.
And who will own that property? It's an easement then, it's somebody's property, but other people have the right to go over it, is that what you're saying?
It would, yeah.
I don't believe it'll be everybody, it'll be somebody that come repair. a
But
pump.
some of the pipe actually transverses someone else's property, correct?
On some of the lots, yes.
So on those lots, you'd have to have a requirement that they keep that free.
Correct. So that's in, Mr. Rhodes' attorney actually incorporated that into the deed, so it's not a separate document. Right in the deed, giving them ownership of the property, there's language that prohibits putting, you can't put like a gazebo or patio or anything in that area, and it
And
requires.
you can't put a structure and you can't have trees, right?
Correct, and it requires them to maintain it as lawn as well.
And who enforces that? I mean, we get that all the time, people put sheds up in garages where they're not supposed to.
That, well, if in the unlikely event that somebody was to apply for a building permit on these lots, one, I don't think this is a comprehensive permit, so they're tied to what is shown on that plan. But in the future, if they were able to apply for a building permit, you cannot put a structure in an easement either. We have to have offsets to lot lines.
The lot lines can't change
Correct.
for a comprehensive permit, but you said it's comprehensive permit, so the plan may change.
No. If somebody was to try to change a building, like say they said they thought they could go and put an addition on or
Okay.
something, that realistically, that's unlikely. But the check and balance in that is that they have to have a plan prepared that shows how that fits on the lot. You cannot put it in an easement.
And maybe Amy's probably the expert to answer this, but my understanding is, for example, if the person is on lot 1 and they have to traverse lot 2 to get to their well or whatever, if the person on lot 2 does something, put a shrub or something in there, it's up to the person on lot 1 to go back and enforce that and basically sue the lot 2 owner to say, get your garbage out of my easement.
That is correct. So easements are a private matter. So my septic source checked his records and the last inspection was $400. So just put that out there. I do have a question on this language that was inserted into the deed. It says that they cannot construct, place, permit, remain in the easement area. And then it says that the grantee shall maintain said easement area as a lawn, and grantee may remove or permit removal of plants, shrubs. But then it says, and may plant, replant, and selectively cut or prune plants, shrubs, brush, or other vegetation in such a manner and at such times as may be necessary to maintain the easement area located within the lot. So that's completely contradictory. In one clause, it says it has to be maintained as a lawn, and then it's saying that they can plant stuff.
That can easily be struck out.
So that has to change. It's not conducive to what we're talking about here, that it has to be accessible.
One other question we had too is whose responsibility is it going to be to maintain a buffer around the outside?
So it's a natural buffer. That was the whole benefit of it.
And we talked about that, and trees die, okay. Who's responsible to make sure that that visual buffer stays in place?
Trees die and trees regrow at just as quick. They're strictly invasive species for the most part. That buffer's gonna grow quicker than.
If someone plants it, okay?
It gets perfectly planted naturally. Everything that's there, there's nothing there that's planted. That used to be an old field.
Yeah, it's a mix of red maples and shrub type vegetation.
I understand, but number one, I thought it was going to be, not going to be deciduous, because if you have maples there, that's not really screening.
There's a lot of, last time I was there, I'd call it neck high or better shrubbery along the edge. The problem, if you go to plant like a blue spruce, is a very beautiful evergreen tree,
By itself.
but it needs, you have to clear everything around it. So it's
I like arborvitae myself, but
same difference though. I mean, the site benefits from having a very thick, low-lying, and then has some upper canopy developing. To put in an arborvitae, you would have to clear probably an 8-foot diameter area to plop that in.
I planted a bunch of them, and all I made sure is they were 3 feet apart to center.
If they're smaller ones, then that would work, but
And as they
it's just-
grow up, they just
There's different
habitate.
varieties. I mean, there's some that grow in a pyramidal form and some that bush out, but
The most natural growth there, as far as evergreen concerned, is there's a fair amount of white pines, and there's some junipers, but it's pretty thick around the borders for the most part. But if a maple tree dies, to go and mix another tree in with it, right now, the borders look natural. Anything you would try to do to change that would look forced. It's just my thought. Prior to being a builder, I got in high school, I was a landscaper, and years in college, I was a landscaper. And obviously, I've done a lot of work on different terrain and such, but trying to force arborvitaes or different type of horticultural shrubs that are typically used for borders or used for plantings around foundations and stuff would tend to alienate the existing general landscaping that I don't feel is unconducive to the area.
So the screening is not going to be total then, obviously, because there are places where there are maples and that sort of thing. Is that what you're saying?
It's perfectly natural all the way around it right now.
Well, natural is not necessarily a dense screening that prevents viewing through it.
It likely has the best shot.
Can I just want to bring up one thing. I know we've touched a lot on the screening and talked a lot about it, but I don't ever believe it was part of the modification that we went for. I believe the screening was already approved, and
The screening was approved, but
It is most definitely part of the modification because they changed the easement lines that run right through the screening, and the easements have to be kept clear. So it definitely,
Well,
the
no,
screening
the-
would come into play.
If I can add in there, the easements were for the benefit of preserving the screening that you originally approved.
right.
So that was to move everything away from that
From the
buffer
edge.
and maintain that buffer exactly as originally approved.
not to cut it.
But you still have lawn areas that are going to be up against the buffer areas. And so, without a doubt, you made a change to the plan that impacts the screening. So the screening is in play, in my opinion. There's a couple ways that it can be guaranteed, I think it could either be that, well, it's a condition of the comprehensive permit. So without it, they're in violation of the comprehensive permit. But you could also put the maintenance on each abutting fee owner or easement owner. So whatever,
Works best for them.
yeah. That would be, I'd have to figure that out. I'd have to
If
figure
the
out.
audience could wait, as soon as the board is done, we'll be glad to take questions from the audience.
Because we'd have to make sure that whoever's responsible it's either got to be all market rate homes or an equal amount of market rate and affordable. Because not every single lot is going to abut the screening requirements.
Yeah, we were asked to incorporate a privacy fence along.
Yeah,
the
that's
too, so
that's all set. That's a
Yeah.
condition.
So to your point, like it varies from lot to lot. Like,
Location.
so some of them will have a fence in lieu of that,
Just,
or to
just,
enhance that.
just 1, 2, and part of 3, right?
Correct.
We'll have the fence?
Yeah.
And we'd also have to make sure that the fence is maintained in those areas that the fence is, because 20 years from now, that fence may not, if someone doesn't replace it,
Vinyl.
and who's responsible to replace it? We know the neighborhood, we'd like to keep screening between this complex and the neighbors. And if you can help us facilitate that. And again, by screening, we mean 12 months a year, so it would have to be evergreen as opposed to deciduous trees.
Yeah, I'm confused, the new guy here. So if it's a condo association.
It's not a condo
Well,
association.
right, so if it were, we knew it would be who's accountable for that. So how will it work here, again, 15 or 20 years down the road?
It's much harder with a homeowners association.
But is it possible? How will it happen? Anybody? Or it just won't happen?
It really won't, because there's, with the homeowners association, there's really no common area. So we couldn't put it on, we can't put it on the HOA.
On deeds.
But even if we put it on the deeds, it would be on each deed. So we still have that whole affordable versus market component.
What would your thought be on meeting the needs that we've expressed
Who are you addressing it to?
for screening?
Yeah. Now, does the soccer field need screening? Does the school need screening?
Mr. Rhodes, okay?
We have a fence running by Mr. Minnick. We have about 4 abutters up front.
And who is going to maintain the fence?
We can put in the deed that the fence is to be maintained on each individual deed. It's supposed to say, we'll have to state the same product in nature, it's gonna be vinyl. I think the first installation is gonna outlive us all, but that's fine, we can add for future generations for that fence.
How many lots does that fence run behind? Just 2?
3.
3?
2.5, yeah.
How many of the affordable units will screening affect?
They haven't determined where the affordable.
Do you know which units are going to be affordable?
No, I could pick them out now if you choose.
Can we share?
Need a set of darts.
Which plan do you, I mean, this is a plan of all the houses.
These are the ones that shows all the houses on it. There you go.
Okay. So maybe you can just, and if anyone wants to come stand over here, they're welcome to see what we're looking at.
There's a fence. We go here.
No, name them.
Uh,
Numbers.
Lot 1,
Lot 1's gonna be affordable?
yep. Lot 12A,
And which one?
It's all right.
and I'll put one on back, lot 7A or 8A, either one.
Okay, let's just do this. So there would have to be, These two.
These all have fence.
have fence, right?
So
On this
lot
one?
12A is gonna have to, their easement goes all the way down the screening area, so they're gonna be the ones responsible for it.
And that's the affordable.
That's the affordable.
We could move it across the street to,
What'd you say?
12A.
we could move it across the street to 4A.
All right, we're looking for 12A.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay, this is the street.
It would be better if, it would be better if it was 4A, because then the affordables have to take care of the screening.
You mean
I mean, the
market?
market, sorry.
okay, so are we gonna change this and make this affordable? And what's the, and take it off of number 12?
Correct.
Is this the fence too?
That's just the dotted line. That's the access and utilities, and Jamie was just commenting.
Okay, so we know where the fence is, and again, how tall is the fence gonna be?
You're only allowed to have 6 feet.
Okay, but it will be 6 feet, right?
Yes.
And
And it'll actually be a little higher than
can
that.
we just go, if we start at lot 1A, okay? The fence is gonna go behind 1A, behind 2A, and this lot belongs, oh, okay.
Could you do 4A, 7A, and 9A
4A, 7A.
as affordables?
4A,
What was the other two?
4A, 7A,
No.
and then
can't- not
switch
possible.
1A and 9A.
Not possible.
okay, so
Actually,
We'll
I
look-
can use the manager, I'll be right back. You guys can discuss the affordables and when I get back, we can go back over here. I just have to go to that and go
Oh, and, I'm sorry, I'm not,
So in this, with these three, Lot 1A is gonna have to be, an affordable lot is gonna have to be responsible for the fence.
Yeah, and they end up responsible pretty much for the entire fence.
Well, 2A has a big portion and 3A has some.
3A's got quite a bit, it goes down the back too on
Yeah,
3A.
it takes a turn and
Oh, but you know what? No, it's not. It's all 1A because the easement
Yeah.
follows the entire lot, the fence. Jim's right. The whole,
Can we
1A is gonna be
You
responsible for the
haven't
whole
determined
fence.
bedrooms in any of this yet either, have
Yeah,
you?
'cause 1A's lot.
They have to be evenly spaced.
well, they have an easement, but couldn't you still make property 2A responsible for the fence? Because the
They'd have to
fence,
go on 1A's easement to do it.
it's gonna go behind the
I know, but
easement.
to fix it, they'd have to go on somebody else's easement to fix it.
But they could, right?
We'd have to put it in the deed. It would have to be in the
Okay.
easement.
When you, because you discussed bedrooms last time, too, there's a reduction of bedrooms, right?
Right.
And that goes on
Because
individual
this actually
houses,
belongs to lot
which is going to
1A.
affect that, is it not?
I think bedrooms were listed.
This is
on
their
that permit.
lot 1A
Oh,
level.
okay.
Even after
And
they
we
reduce
this
the
whole
number?
strip of land here in the back.
it is, yeah, the sheet C 3.01 reflects the proposed bedroom.
Okay, you did, because they were talking last week about reducing the number.
No,
Did you reduce the
The
number?
modification was a reduction in the numbers. So that ever since we've seen us, since we submitted in July,
Okay,
that's
but you
reduced.
It was
discussed,
if the AI wasn't acceptable to
and
the
it is acceptable
DEP.
as it is?
And the DEP is saying it's acceptable.
Okay.
So it's 1A is an affordable. Technically, looking at this, they have the whole fence,
Right, yeah, because it's not just in, yeah,
because it's all on their easement going up to where their well is.
oh, this is actually,
That's
This is
1A.
actually part of their lot, but this is their easement area.
The fence is, it's on the property of 2A and 3A as well, but you are correct, the majority of the fence would fall on 1A.
You understand a concern with it being an affordable unit?
Yeah. When Mark comes back.
So then, 1A, 2A, and 3A should have something in there that they are responsible for part of the fence.
So when he comes back, we can
Yeah.
discuss that with him.
So,
So I think this is the size of the building, that's why.
Why can't it just be a condominium association?
DEP did not like the condominium association.
But you've changed everything. Now you have separate septics. That's going to be on the that's not going to be common. So if you do condominium association, the only common areas will be the street and the buffers. And then it can be placed on the common area. Because how are you going to maintain the buffer across from 1A, across from 2A?
well, that's technically part of 1A's lot is across the street. The street is part of their lot.
Not if we made, but if we made it a condominium association, it would be common ground.
That's right.
Because we also have stormwater, who's going to maintain the stormwater system?
That was in the language for the maintenance of the way. That was all.
Yeah.
So it'll be HOA.
Correct, yeah.
And what if they don't? So then we just make the HOA responsible for the fence and the screening, and the easements have to allow the HOA, an HOA representative of the HOA to fix it, to go on those easements and fix it.
but I
If
thought you
anybody
said,
ever reads these deeds, they
No, I
never
know,
buy the
I
house.
know, an HOA is not, it's not ideal at all.
and there's no way to enforce it, so it'll never get done.
Well, it would be a condition of the comprehensive permit.
And then we have what, 12A, 11A, 10A. Is that a fence back there?
No.
No,
That's,
it says
This is just
vegetative
the-
buffer.
If you had asked in the original approvals that there's a small rise in the earth there, that is for the benefit of the butter, so that any surface water, sheet flow, even though it's generally uphill in that direction, there's no chance of things going towards their property. So there's a small berm there. that
Okay.
prevents any flow from going there.
6 inch
But
by 3 feet wide.
what's screening in there?
There's screening behind it, the exact same as the remainder of it.
Just
So the,
natural vegetation.
the berm is excellent in that it provides a permanent physical marker of where that is.
On C301, he explains it says, provide 10 feet of natural vegetative buffer. Buffer may be increased upon agreement between a budding landowner and the Capes of Berlin LLC. Provide
Right here.
6 foot tall by 3 foot wide vegetative berm at the edge of clearing.
6 inch,
Sorry, 6 inch.
6 feet would be
Yeah, that'd be a lot.
quite a speed bump.
And then you'd have in those 3 lots that they have to maintain the vegetation, right?
Yeah, I mean, the berm, it's an earth berm that would be grass up to the high point of it.
Is it 6 feet high?
6 inches.
Well, I mean, that's not,
Well, on top of that, there
That's what
would be stuff growing out of.
okay, let's talk lots 10. I get confused, you'll have to forgive me, because I see like lot, actually, I'm not sure what this is. Who owns this? See this little triangular piece here? Could I tell you to join us?
Yeah, let me, I do a full size sheet highlighted too.
The triangle is owned by 12A, right? No, sorry, it's owned by,
11A
no, yeah, 11A.
comes down here.
So, and that's not even an easement, because 11A would be responsible for that whole piece.
But the easement behind
Can I put this plan
11A
over here?
is owned by 12A.
So which lot's in question or which?
All right, well, I just
We're
saw
looking
it.
at this lot here,
This lot here goes to
here.
lot 11A.
Mm-hmm.
10A goes to this other little diamond.
So we're saying that this whole thing would be the responsibility of lot 11A.
This
No, it would be 12A.
12A comes down here and up to here.
Oh dear God.
This is a mess, quite honestly.
See here? This one
I see where it is, it goes up and it goes around that
comes
triangle.
up to here.
And, so,
This one comes.
did
11A
you want to
comes
join
up.
us?
I've seen that, it's all the easements to get back to the wells, that's the,
Yeah.
not the easement, it's just a land strip to maintain ownership.
Right,
Let's see, this one goes up to this, to 11A. And then this one goes
to the
to
triangle.
10A.
But that would mean that this one here, which, is it part of,
Should be.
no, because
The
see,
long one,
this one, I think that there shouldn't be anything right there.
You're right.
This,
You're right. There shouldn't be.
this goes,
yeah, see, this doesn't exist.
this is the easement. So your actual lot line,
No, but what I'm saying is, here we've got, please don't do it in red, 12A, okay? 12A actually goes back this way
Correct.
and goes down here and goes over here and then goes to here.
Correct.
So this shouldn't be there.
That's the easement line, and if you go to, there's a sheet that has the easements, it has the bearings and distances for the easement, and then it has the bearings and distance for the lot.
But what that
You know the
means
difference.
is Lot 12A would be responsible. Well, you
So
were gonna
that's not a
do the...
problem, because 12A is gonna be a market rate. The problem is on the other side,
Well,
going up the street.
I understand, but I'm looking at 12A and I'm looking at screening. So where is the screening gonna be?
Go to 3. The screening is in front of the
You okay
easement.
with
The
that?
screening is
So Mark,
pretty much on.
he's okay with having the HOA be responsible for the screening. So that,
No,
How
the
can
question
you do
is,
that?
we want a condominium association.
They're not condominiums.
We want them to be.
They're not gonna be.
Can you just help us understand why that's not good for you, too?
It's my personal business. They're not gonna be condominiums. We divided these into single-family homes. The state has approves of this change. They said, the state says it's non-substantial. They've been here for months. We've gone over this.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it, Mark, but do you understand that we need to justify what we're doing here, okay? And in order to do it, we're not asking you, why not a condominium, just because we want to make life miserable.
They're not gonna be condominiums. What you have is a modification in front of you because they are not condominiums. It's been set forth to you, and it's what you're here to decide on.
You don't have to accept the modification of going from condo to homeownership, to HOA.
So, given that we don't have to accept it, we need your cooperation in helping us understand why it can't be a condo. I mean, you have to pretend you're sitting at the table here, okay, instead of me. And we're looking to help the people that are going to live here and the people that already live here.
Yes.
And we're looking for the best solution, okay?
This is
Yeah.
the best solution.
You need to make me comfortable with the fact that this is...
If you want any terms and conditions on the homeowners association, I'm fine to do that, but we are not reverting back to a condo association or condominiums. That's out of the question.
That's up to you guys.
It would be helpful if you could...
We don't need this dialogue. We brought you a modification, we brought it before you, we've been through an appeal prior, we've been through an appeal. We got back to the point where we were still here in front of you. Now we went for a modification through the chapter, and here we are. This is the modification. They're single-family homes. Condos are not on the table. And if you want to add any language to the HOA, I'd be happy to consider those, but I'm not going to sit here for another however many long to revert back to condos. We've re-engineered this to the point where we've been beating it to death forever. We have smaller homes, we have less bedrooms, we have less sewage, we have individual lots.
Do you understand our concerns?
Not so much. I do and I don't. I think it's being beaten to death. The project has obviously never had support. Went through over a year trying to trade land with the town. That didn't work.
Well, you had your permit at that point.
Correct. I still have a
So,
permit.
you do. You do have a permit. We did not refuse your permit. I think that we just think that the current plan, again, the screening and the extent of some of these, I mean, the choppiness and who's going to maintain what, cannot easily be serviced by an HOA. And in our mind,
I disagree with you on that.
okay, but do you
Now,
understand?
can you understand what you're asking me is to bring it back to condos? I'm saying I am not bringing it back to condos. So your peer review, we've had 2 peer reviews through this whole process, and they've all been very positive. And this board has been a hindrance through the whole thing as far as trying to get this thing through. We're spending a whole meeting on buffer when nobody else has to contend with buffer, but this project has to contend with buffer. That's fine. We'll write the terms for the buffer. You can make them a condition of the approval. You guys have the ability to write all the conditions you want on this approval.
So you have a couple options. You can deny the modification. You can condition that it's condominiums. You can condition an HOA. I don't, at this point, I don't think we're going to get any further information from the applicant. So I think that maybe we should just throw it out to the public and then close the hearing. The applicant has clearly stated he's not willing to explain his reasoning, so.
General public, anyone have any comments? Yes, sir. Just state your name and your address, please.
54 South Street.
Not that we don't know it by
No,
now.
that's all right, I'm fine. My problem is this has been a convoluted project all of the way. They couldn't get approval from the state, so they convoluted it another set of ways and trying to push it down our throats. Anybody looking at that plan would say it's absolutely absurd. It's totally absurd. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to look at that and say, where does it go and who's doing what and who's going to maintain it? Well, I live there. So whatever you guys decide, I got to live with. And if things don't work out, I'm going to be the guy bottom line responsible for working it out. And I'm saying that's a convoluted plan. It is not reasonable in any way, shape, or form. They've modified it 15 different ways to put 5 million houses in a place that isn't built for that, and they run around it any other way they could. And I'm saying, from the public standpoint, my standpoint, no go.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments they'd like to make? The thing is, I would honestly like to work on these buffers and stuff, but it seems as though,
If you want to work on buffers and leave it as single-family homes, I'll spend all the time in the world you want. If you want to go back to a condo association, it's just not happening.
Technically have to be spelled out on each house lot, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's easy enough. We do it all the time. We do it in every conventional subdivision. We have common drives in conventional subdivisions. We have use easements for people that have a backyard that they don't own. We have easements crossing easements. We have sewer lines crossing property.
and you would accept any modification that we make as far as see, I just can't get by how we're gonna have these people. There's gonna be that mound there, and different people own the property, and in order to do the buffer, and I'm not sure, I mean, it doesn't show on the plan.
There can be fines in HOAs. You can put fines in the HOA agreement for all these violations you're concerned about. Fines are deterrent, and if that doesn't work, then we can have public stonings and floggings.
The difference between a condo association and an HOA is a condo association, there's liens, a condo association, and an HOA cannot.
If they pull it again.
I'm just gonna keep it as.
I mean, a traditional subdivision has street trees that are required all the time, and there's no maintenance of any sorts that's related to those.
what I'm taking, and I can be corrected if the board doesn't agree with me, one of the main reasons that we wanted the screening,
How about a white fence around the entire parcel?
a picket fence.
Well, a white vinyl, whatever it is, yeah.
I hear you, but if you just hear me, is that we're concerned for the neighbors. And because of the density of this project, which is unusual in the
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
okay? And because of the way the lots are laid out, and our ability or inability to cause a remedy for anyone who's aggrieved by it not being carried out. So, Amy, if we chose to say it needs to be a condo association, that's a legitimate reason for turning down this project?
You're not turning down the project.
No, the amendment.
Well, I'm not sure if you want to deny the entire modification. You can condition it that it becomes a condominium association, and the condominium documents have to be submitted and approved by town council.
And then we have to appeal. And we go through another appeal.
Appeal,
And
that's
this will
good.
packet.
And what do you see the grounds, or is that not appropriate conversation for now, for us requiring it to be a condominium?
From what I've heard from the board tonight is that there's a serious concern regarding maintenance.
No 40B's ever been not approved for that reason by the state.
I do think you should just close the hearing. I really don't think we're getting any new information at all.
And just go with requirements?
We have 40 days to issue a decision, so we would then deliberate after the hearing's closed.
Does anyone else at the table have any questions?
No.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Once again, I really like the position that you're taking, at least around the condo association, even though I don't like the whole project. But I'll tell you, I'd like to see this zoning board not fold under pressure from a contractor. There's been constant pressure, constant, I'm not going to work with you, constant statements like, do it my way or the highway, and I'll take you to appeal. I hope this town steps up to the plate for the people who live here and take a stand and say, look, this is what needs to be done for the town, not for the contractor. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we close the hearing.
I make a motion, we close the hearing on Capes of Berlin at 58 South Street.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. I'll take that as a unanimous vote, if not otherwise mentioned. I apologize to who is here for 7:30? I apologize.
No problem.
We're running late, and we're gonna probably run a little later, if we can.
If anybody's here that hasn't signed in on the sign-in sheet, if you would please, before you leave. Thank you.
Now, do you want us to, set up another meeting for deliberation? I'll open the hearing, for a variance at 5 Brandel Road. And again, this meeting is being recorded. Your voice or and image may appear. Would you like to make your presentation to us?
Sure. So this is the continuance. I was here 2 months ago. We sit on a corner lot. As a result of being on a corner lot, the offsets on the side of the house are 50 feet. Because of wetlands on the property and the topography of the property, the only spot for a pool is on the side of the house. That requires us to ask for 10 feet of relief on that side, so from 50 feet to 40 feet. When I was here last, you asked me for 3 things. One was a letter from the Conservation Commission.
Which we already saw, right?
Okay.
But thank you.
Copies of that, stating that that was the only location for the pool, given the wetlands of the property. The second was a letter from either myself or the pool contractor stating that there was nowhere else the pool could go. That's that. And the third was a consolidated plan, which I also have a blow-up of if you need it. This is the printouts of that, that married the wetlands.
You brought a magnifying glass, right?
The wetlands restrictions with the,
We do have a letter somewhere from conservation.
Well, it's right here.
yeah, that's a copy.
And we actually have a map for it too.
Yeah, make sure that if there's extra copies, I'll throw them back in the ZBA for Leanne. Okay, and
I got the
Get 2 and
original.
I'll get 2.
oh, you got the original? Well,
Do
Jim,
you want another one, Jimmy?
Okay.
you did come prepared. Just no magnifying.
Here's your back.
2 more?
Yes, or actually 3 more together.
So, this is what I need to make note of.
No, we got it. Thank you.
Just want to check.
Does anyone at the table have, again, when we met before, it was a case of, is this the only place, this is a 40A type thing, and we need to say,
No,
because
thank you,
of
yeah.
the wetlands and so forth, that conservation has told us this is the only place, and given that he exceeds the requirement for the amount of land that is needed, that's the only place he can put his pool.
I guess, Madam Chair, one question I have is more of a new person to understand what it is we're hearing from. What's the driving
There's a
force?
specific thing in the bylaw
No, I did
that
read
says
that.
because it's a corner lot.
But is it for aesthetics or for safety, road safety? Why is it 50 feet from the road?
50 feet is aesthetics,
Just aesthetics?
yes.
Okay.
This line here is your easement from the road. This is the street, the 10 feet off the pavement. Here's the thing, here's 40 feet
Yep.
off of the town easement.
I was just making sure it was solely the aesthetics and there wasn't a different
Yeah, there's no.
governing body that,
I've been around and I've looked, and there's really no place out in here that would work.
Actually, if this were a side lot, or even a rear lot, because it's 40 feet, I think for a rear lot, isn't it? This would be okay.
Right, side lot
And
is
he's got
fine.
2 front lots, is what the bylaw in the town says.
okay.
So what we're saying is, yeah, we understand, but this is the only place the pool can go. Okay, does anyone else have anything they want to ask? Now, these are your copies, right? We can have one of these. Oh, you're very generous, thank you. This is one I can read just for doing any kind of decision. Is anyone inclined, well, first of all, if we were to grant variance, the reasoning is conservation, right?
Yep,
Topography,
yep.
because of the dips and,
The slope, retaining
Right.
walls.
retaining wall. And the, and it would be a hardship because of, how much land is there here, sir?
On the entire lot?
Yeah, is it 4.82 acres? 4.82 acres that he can't put a pool.
Right.
Because that's more than twice what he needs. to have a building lot.
Just a quick question, is there any screening around this pool, fence or?
There will be a fence. I did.
There has to be a fence.
Yeah, and I did check with the building inspector. I had an email from him that that's not included in the 10-foot offset. So it's to the hole in the ground, the hardscape, and the fence does not count.
Yeah, so what are we looking at, what are you looking at for a fence? I mean, is it just gonna be chain link, or is this gonna be?
It'll be probably a
Obscuring fence?
black aluminum fence around.
So is it okay to say obscuring fence?
If the fence is not obscuring, there'll be plantings here, yeah.
You don't want to sunbathe on the main street? Obscuring fence, if I could spell it, or and plantings. And they will be, well, you have to have a fence.
Correct.
And the fence has to be what, 4 feet high? Yeah. Okay. I think we have covered what we need to for 40A. Does anyone care to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance for the
5
proposed...
Randall Road.
Yeah, 5 Randall Road, the proposed site for a swimming pool. Wherever it is,
I will second it.
doesn't
Okay, it's just,
meet
How
the
far are we
setbacks.
varying this to?
Yeah, what is that?
what's the setback from the street for the proposed pool, according to the building inspector? It was 42
50
feet?
feet is the requirement.
But you have 40,
And 40.
Okay.
40 feet, yeah. I thought it was 42, I'm sorry. Okay, so it's a 10-foot variance. Okay, are you the junior?
I'm the junior.
Okay, so voting will be all but the junior. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All those opposed? You let me keep the map. It takes me a while, sometimes up to 2 weeks. And then we have to get people to sign it. You do know that we have to file it with the town clerk, and the town clerk has to hold on to it for 20 days. And we will ask that you, after you record it, that you give a copy to the town clerk. And you'll have to pay for it to be recorded.
That print's gonna be on my line, right?
Yeah, do you have a Mylar of this?
Sorry.
Plastic one?
No, I don't.
Well, somebody might have one that drew this.
Yeah, at least, or at least, you must have an electronic copy of this, or you could get, okay, so you could send us an electronic copy, I'm taking that with me. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
So moved, second.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
You're all set.
All right.
Well,
Come on.
this step is all done.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who made the motion?
Who made,
Secret.
and I'll just advise those present that this is being recorded, and your image and voice may be so recorded. Okay,
Madam Chairman,
yes.
Sue Robinson was sitting last time. I cannot, it'll have to be Kevin, so please have a
Okay.
catch you later. Adios, amigos.
Oh,
Okay.
you're leaving?
I'm like, I would if I could.
I'm writing down no Pat, okay. At our last meeting, I'll give you an opportunity, we asked for 2 things. One was a list by unit in the Plainville of bedrooms. And number 2 was whether or not you were in compliance. So do you have evidence of both of those?
We do, Madam Chair. Scott Erickson on behalf of the Regional Condominium Trust. Here is a certification from the boards of the condominiums regarding the bedroom count. It's a census, if you will. This board asked for at our last hearing in December. We did also reach out to DEP, David Boyer, who indicated that DEP will not provide a letter of compliance. It's not something they do.
They indicated that we were in compliance in October when we had the permit change, but they won't provide sort of an ongoing status as we were in compliance. However, we coordinated with the septic servicer, small water system, and they coordinated with DEP, and DEP indicated there's no current violation. So
That was what we needed verification of, that there's no current violation. Do you
but they
have
won't
anything?
provide that in any formal certification.
I do have a report.
An email, well, we have the reports that are delivered to the Board of Health from small water that indicate, that that's a routine.
They're in compliance.
Right. So we can deliver a copy of that report if the board would like.
Sure.
Okay.
There's no totals on here, but are you saying that the number of bedrooms totals up?
158.
69 for the Camelot side and 89 for the Mosaic side.
I'm sorry?
69 for the Camelot side and 89 for the Mosaic side. Yes.
So you're at maximum right now?
Yes.
And you are verifying that this is what is there, correct? Contrary to what we had at our last hearing, right?
I'm sorry, what was that, Madam Chair?
Well, not at this particular submission, but at the previous one, there were advertisements out there that showed third floor, entire third floor bedroom.
Correct.
Etc., which is why we asked for the inventory.
Yes.
And you're certifying that this is what exists, right?
That's correct. The trustees are certifying that's what exists. The trustees have the obligation to enforce the permit and the terms of the condominium documents. So they had addressed the issues that were identified before regarding an additional bedroom or multiple.
Or the use of the attic or something like that, okay? All right. Anyone else wish to? We have a letter from DEP that says that it would take an additional bedroom.
Yes.
Yes, they've approved it for one additional.
Correct.
You're at 358, they approved it to go up to 359.
159.
What?
Correct.
You
got the
100, 300.
And in which unit listed on this co-housing inventory?
Unit 51 is the subject.
And Camelot, yes.
Were you surprised when you did the inventory at all?
Surprised?
Amy, do you have any thoughts on this?
I don't have the DEP letter saying that they can go up by one.
Okay, we can get that to you.
I know I've seen it though. I'm sure I have it somewhere.
I'm sure I have it here in Leanne's folder.
I just have a whole bunch of letters of non-compliance dated February 28th. I have
And-
about 4 copies of that.
Well, this is why we had asked for.
Right.
So the last.
Right. So I'll provide the board with copies of, these are what are submitted to DEP, and I think the most relevant numbers here.
You're happy? This is from Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, and it says, reporting package comments. We are happy to report that all effluent sampling and flow measurements have met permit parameters this month. That's an... As SWSS operators will continue to operate the, wastewater treatment plant, WWTP, according to permit, DEP requirements, and industry standards.
So that was a report dated January for November. That's the most recent one that we have submitted.
It says date and time created 1/6/2020.
Correct. Created by the servicer.
Amy, do you have the October 24?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
It's on page 7, paragraph 6. They mentioned the 159 total.
Right, but it goes from, your numbers go from 67, 68, and then they go to 70, or 69.
69 is common house.
So that's,
The common building has no
so where does it say that you can increase it by one bedroom?
on the DEP.
Yeah,
It's in it.
on the modified permit.
Right.
So I'm looking for the number 159.
Page 7 of that package, item number 6.
So does this restrict it to your condo, to your unit? Yeah.
Does not.
No.
She's just the person who asked first.
And what was your number?
Unit 51 in Camelot.
So that has to be specified in your decision, so the building department has it, so they can cross-reference it if they go in there.
Well, you're in charge of the decision.
Oh. Lucky me.
Make sure you write that in.
It's a 40B, so,
It's not 40B, no. Even it's not 40B.
No, the.
no,
Oh,
the
sorry.
development, the project is a 40B. So this is, it specifies right in the 40B, the number of bedrooms.
Correct.
Okay? So what we need to do is, that's all that needs to be changed.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. The comprehensive permit states 158 bedrooms, you're correct, Madam Chair, and so we're asking for it to be 159.
Well, we changed the comprehensive permit.
Correct, it's a modification of the comprehensive.
Okay.
Which is the reason Amy's here.
Lucky me. This one I can do.
So do we have anything else on this then for tonight?
No. I don't think that there's,
Question?
I'm just curious if we have any other questions for you folks for tonight.
I mean, unless.
anyone in the audience
unless
like
we
to
wanna
make
add
a
and make sure
statement
everything's
or
right.
have a question? You understand this has nothing to do with the special permit?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, this is just to increase the total number to 159. She's a wise lady, she's counting. How about somebody else, you want to give her a hand counting?
I'm sure she's doing just fine.
Okay, let's all just take a second
Let me just use the calculator.
It's single digits, you know?
I know, but that doesn't help me.
She can't do this with her shoes on.
You know about me in numbers. All right, I am right. So it's 46 in each column. So for Village Lane, I don't know which one this is. Mosaic, it's 92.
It should be 89.
There's, yeah. All right, then maybe the other column's wrong, hold on.
I didn't get it either.
All right, so 43 and 46, what's that? Yes. So what's the other one supposed to be? 16.
69 and 89, so,
Yeah.
which does add up to 158, which is what was in the original. Do you have a card, Mr.?
I provided my information last
Okay. Just different people taking minutes because our normal clerk is not here.
What did you say? What did you mail in persons?
Yep.
Is it on
Came up with 76. You guys don't know how to use Excel? Do they just add up the column data?
Mhm.
When you say numbers, you get me confused.
Oh, sorry.
5 and 5 is 10. 4 and 4 is 8. 4 and 4 is 8. 3 and 4 is 9 and 2. So 18. 4 is 7. 10 plus 8 plus 8 plus 9 plus 2. So it's 37 on the first column. And then we have
Council, on the Camelot column, get 35 on the first column.
25 and 33, isn't it?
8 plus 9
Yeah,
plus 2. I still get 37. So that gives you 9 and 5 is 10. 4 and 4 is 8. 4 and 4 is 8. 3 and 4, oh, it's 7, and I had it as 9. So 35? Is that what you came up with?
Yes.
2, 4, 4 is 8. 4 and 5 is 9. 4 and 3 is 7. 4 and 4 is 8 and 2. 8 plus 9 plus 7 plus 8 plus 2. 34 plus 35. Okay, so they're all set.
Thank you.
That was a lot more difficult with me doing it. I probably should have done somebody else.
Well, I only did Camelot, but it does come up to 69. Are you confident that?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that, because it would be well that if there was a typo or something, you know, we would just be, okay. All right, I think that we've covered the bases. DEP has approved one more bedroom. This has nothing to do with the special permit, it just has to do with whether or not they can have one more bedroom above the 158. They've supplied an inventory and done a little policing, I take it, for which we're grateful. Does anyone have anything else? Anyone else in the audience? If not, if someone would care to make a motion?
I will make a motion that we continue this hearing until February 5th at 7 PM.
To do what?
We have to vote on it, don't we?
To do the decision.
Oh, no, we want to close this one, right?
Yeah, you want to close it, but I have to draft the decision. And
All right,
vote on the decision on the
so
5th.
my motion then will be to close this hearing, and then we'll vote on it whenever.
Yeah, it'll be 2 seconds. I need a clean copy of the numbers, because it will attach it to the decision, and I wrote all over mine. And we'll attach this. and
Okay,
we'll
so
attach the
you made a
decision.
motion, so it
Motion to
was...
close the hearing for Sawyer Hill
Thank you.
Condominium Trust amendment, or is it an amendment to the?
It's modification.
Modification to the
Comprehensive.
comprehensive permit. Yoish.
And who made the second?
I did.
Keith did. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll hang you with, all right. Now, do we want to vote to approve?
If you want to vote to approve it now, since you're all here, that way
And then you draft?
you could vote to approve it and instruct the chair to issue a decision with town, based on working with town council.
Okay, so I will make a motion that we approve the modification to the comprehensive permit
By,
to increase the number of bedrooms from 158 to 159. And
the bedroom being at unit 51.
in unit, the additional bedroom going to unit 51. That's what, 51 Village Lane?
No,
Village
51. Oh,
Thanks for waiting for me.
Village Court.
I second it.
Okay, so we have a first and a second on that. And do you want to authorize me to work with town council?
So you want to vote on that first?
Okay.
Yeah, so I would make,
So we
well,
got-
All those in favor?
aye.
All those opposed? It's unanimous.
And then now you
And so
want,
now I make a second
Well-
motion.
Could I have a suggestion? We've got to come back here next,
I do?
so how about if we do it then, and then everybody will have a chance to see it and stuff? And, 5 eyes are better than just mine.
Sure.
That okay?
It'll be 2 sentences.
Well, it should be a brief meeting, but you're coming here for that anyway.
No problem. I can do it.
So we don't need an additional motion.
No.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
I do have a late question, which is not that important, but
It's curious.
it's a curiosity thing. Are any of these units empty at this time?
Yes.
How many? Do you know
I
roughly?
think just one of them is.
Only one?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not in the bedroom.
Yeah.
1 3-bedroom?
Yeah. And that's it. He did have a renter for a while and then moved out over the summer and he's gonna have some work done. He hasn't gotten anybody new in there. He hasn't decided whether he wants to sell.
Now we'll pass the word.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you very
You
much.
understand what's going to happen?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
That we're going to come back here on the 5th. Isn't it, the date is the first Wednesday? Is 5th, yeah. So we're going to come back here for 6:30 and anyway.
Very good. Thank you all.
I'm down today, it's my
Okay, you just hold on for 1 second.
Yeah, you did watch.
Do you have all your slips and everything?
Also, I provided a copy to you guys last week.
Okay, take care.
Here you go. No.
Here, okay.
Oh,
There should also be a copy in here. I made a copy for each of you guys of all of those. One more came in after.
do you
I
have a
made the
list of
copy.
the abutters list right? Well, I have one in here, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'll do that.
Okay, thank you. Just before we open the hearing, we need to make sure that those that needed to be notified were in fact notified.
There are 21 people I know, they all got them. 3 of them I did not get the slips back for some reason, maybe they didn't sign them.
But you showed that you sent it.
Yes, but one of them is actually the gentleman building the house, Craig, so technically 2
He
people.
technically knows about it, does he?
Yeah, he knows about it.
Okay. We're going to be recorded, but just to mention for those in the audience that your voice or image may be recorded. Okay. When you're comfortable, Will. So the house isn't even constructed yet, huh?
It's like 80% constructed, so. It's 80%, when we found it, it was like, it was already being constructed, everything, all the groundwork, they were just putting in the vinyl siding and all those items. So now it's pretty much, I don't know, 70-80%. Minus the potential, obviously.
Did everybody sign in?
Yep.
Thank you. You have the newspapers too, right?
The copies were in there,
Okay.
and it's also in the documents I gave you guys, there's 3
You're
pages.
very
of it.
efficient.
I try to be. Probably overly efficient taping it there, they might think I'm not stealing that, but.
Is there a copy of what was in the paper?
Yes,
Oh, I don't see it.
I provided a copy there, and it's at the, I dropped off an extra packet, so you guys should have 2 packets. One of them, the second one I dropped off last week or 2 weeks ago was, I dropped it off on the December 31st. It has a copy of all those people who got notified. And it
Yeah,
has-
this I have.
Yep, and it has 3 pages that are,
This is, looks
right here.
like,
Is that it? No.
no, this is all, just the certified, but not the actual newspaper.
Yeah, it's right there, the copy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's got it.
All righty.
It's 3 pages. I don't have the actual newspaper. I don't live in Worcester to get it, but it's the confirmation saying I paid for it and that it was posted. I ran it for 3 weeks. It said you had to run it for 2 weeks. There wasn't like an option to run it for 2 weeks, a week apart or something.
But the only critical piece is that if one of those that you put in the newspaper has to be at least 2 weeks
It was.
before.
It ran 1 week,
That's all.
1 week, and 1 week. Yes, it did.
We need to see 2, but at least one of them has to be 2 weeks prior.
I ran it on
Should be
December.
another page to,
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. I ran it on December, the 20th. I ran it on Fridays, the 20th, the 22nd, 7th, and the 3rd.
This is the one I made copies of.
Oh, this is what I'm looking for. Because, do you see this?
Yeah?
We're just waiting.
That's fine.
Thank you for your patience, because I'm glad we did it this way, guys, even though it was unfortunate that someone had to wait a significant amount of time. Remember last month?
Yes, I remember it. I'll never forget it.
So,
We put things an hour apart,
Oh,
and then one of the ones in the middle
yeah.
didn't come in, well, came in and said, I want an extension to next month. So we had allotted an hour for that hearing, and we called up the pizza. Because we can't start a hearing before the time that's posted, but we can after that time.
Okay.
Because if you would do it at 8 o'clock and we started your hearing at 7 o'clock, someone could legitimately say, I came here for 8, and you were done.
I think he's just so.
Well, you can just put them back in the paper. But, see, this was 7,500 was the maximum we had. This was 300. This is for Sawyer Hill. I'm not Sawyer Hill, for 58 South Street. Right, and this is for the peer review. Okay. But they had come to this total at the end of November.
See, I haven't had any bills.
This is the bill.
All right, looks like everything's in order.
Excellent, okay, thank you. All right, so we'll open the hearing.
I'll have that.
We're gonna vote it. I'll tell you why in a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna open the hearing for, 237. Gates Pond Road. I love Gates Pond Road. Okay, would you like to make a presentation to us?
Yeah, I wrote you guys a little thing, I'll just read it. I don't know if you guys got a chance to. So, I said thanks for reviewing our application for a special permit for the in-law apartment and a new residence at 237 Gates Pond Road in Berlin. Thought it would be informational to write a quick note about the property and us. I know it's standard to need a special permit for an in-law, but though I figure more information may help you to make a decision. So the property is being purchased by myself and my wife Rachel back there. And the in-law apartment is going to be used for my mother Monica, who's right there. For the last 9 years, we've lived in the same in-law living situation in Woburn, Massachusetts. That's where we live now. Moving my business out here. Recently bought a building in Hudson, and we found this property and we love it. So we're planning on staying here.
You will love it, yeah.
Yeah, it looks. And we're both. I mean, I'm a city kid, so this is great for me. I don't know. I went outside the first night and it was pitch black, and I was like, I was leaving the builder's house. So. But we already lived together in an in-law in Woburn, and recently we decided to move out, like I said, because of that. So we decided to purchase 237 Gates Pond because it's kind of perfect for us. So my mother has MS and a bunch of other things. She took some strokes. She looks fine, but she has those things. So Gates Pond Road, actually, the way it was designed.
And she gets along well with your wife, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and she helps out. She pulls her weight still. And so that's actually the way Gates Pond Road is that lot, not the whole road, obviously, but the lot, you can get down to both, it's 2 levels, but you can get down to both levels at entry level. So if she ever needs a wheelchair or if anything like that, she can get in there in the future. But more importantly, she can just walk in at ground level. We can walk in at ground level and have our privacy. So upstairs is like 20, I think it's 3,300 square feet. It's 2,800 on the first floor. There's a bonus room above the garage, that's 500. And then downstairs is 2,900 square feet. And we're just looking to carve out a little area on the left-hand side for her. Let's see if so everything's already been added with the consideration. So Craig, the builder, and Scott and Steve, they went out and talked to the building, not the building, the
Building commissioner?
The Department of Health. So they already modified the septic tank, because I guess there's a requirement when you have a separate unit, you have to have a split septic tank. So that's already been taken care of, and the septic tank was changed out. Yeah, so because of the separate unit, that's what the Department of Health told them. So they already have, I guess you have to have a wall, so if everybody goes to the bathroom at the same time, it doesn't backflow in any way. still.
Or maybe it's the number of bathrooms or something that
Yeah,
requires.
so he went ahead and did that, he pulled out the old septic tank, put that in already. So that was on like the update since last time I was here, I just wrote that. But, in the basement itself is a full walkout already. Was, you know, it has 10-foot high ceilings, they when they built it, they already did that. It already had like 8 full-size windows and I think 2 slider doors. So for the area that would be hers, we added in an egress window to her bedroom. We turned one of the windows into a door. So she has 1 point of egress there, 2 points. I think she has 6 points of egress total, so it's perfectly safe. I guess the real thing we're asking for is the ability to put an extra stove in there really and have her be okay down there. So we don't have to, you know, share all that and
Do you
stuff.
have a letter from the building commissioner refusing you or
Yes.
saying that you need a special permit?
It's on page 3 of the packet that I provided. But I have it right here if you want it instead.
Okay, I'll take it from you because I'm going to be able to find it. Just for those that care, I have reviewed your proposal amendment to your building permit for the construction of a new single-family dwelling. You have informed me that you have a buyer for this new dwelling and they want to add an in-law apartment to the walkout basement area. Regretfully, at this time, I must deny your application. In-law apartments require a special permit from the zoning board under yada yada. If you have any questions, okay. And then Rich signed this. This is to Big Daddy Realty.
Hey, I didn't name the company correctly.
Now,
but-
Big Daddy still owns Realty?
Yes, Craig Wamble, I think is the technical there, and
All you need to show us is that you have an interest in the property, and that would be a purchase and sale agreement?
That's in his package.
that's in my package, it's the
Okay,
whole
that's
29
just
pages.
that you have, so that you can, and he signed that it's okay? Did he sign your,
Yes, in
very-
in the PNS, the in-law apartment's built into the PNS, and there's a whole separate,
no, but he signed the petition, so that's
Yes.
important
Yep.
too. You know, because
he was gonna be here, but I think he's out of town, he's in Florida or something.
he doesn't need to be, but it's important that, you know, somebody renting a premises doesn't go and do something like this without the owner not knowing. Okay, do you have any kinds of plans in here for us?
Yes, they've been, if, I don't know how to reference the page.
That's, no, this isn't,
I
this
can
is
just-
the next one.
This is the rough drawing for,
How many bedrooms are there?
it's for 4 bedrooms, so what we did is, we just took away one of the bedrooms upstairs and made it an office, so we'll both have our own office. And then we're using one of the bedrooms. You mean in the in-law? Just 1 bedroom.
Bathrooms?
Oh, 1 bathroom.
In the whole house?
No, in the in-law, there's 1 bathroom. And then in the house itself, there's 1, 2, 3, 3.5 upstairs.
Okay, I'm looking for percentage. You
Can't
can't
read
be, yeah,
Do you actually add one, or did you ever figure out the percentage of the in-law to the total floor volume?
Yes, it's less than, I think it's, the town ordinance is what, 1/3?
35.
35, it's less than that, 'cause the whole house in total, upstairs is 2,900 plus 500 square feet, so that's 34, and downstairs is another 2,900. So, it's, hold on.
On 500?
Yeah,
So
it's
63?
It's less than 20% or so, yeah, the in-law. At most, it's probably like 20, 23,
well, we
24.
would limit it to 35%.
Yeah, it would never be big. It's already, you know, either way, you know, we all have to live together. She has nowhere to go, so
Yeah,
she
but
can't be homeless, so.
Wouldn't we actually need numbers?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we need numbers.
What's the total square footage of the house?
I believe 6,300 square feet total, including the basement.
That's what he's saying, we can't, we have
I don't know technically if they count the basement, but
Do you
If
have,
it's
I
finished,
think they count if
maybe?
it's finished.
do you have one that's
Yeah.
legible that you can actually read finished?
Yeah, it's on the building plan, and it is in the PNS, I believe.
Okay, good page, right?
and we won't make you go through the gyrations, but you look, I'm sure you have a copy of our bylaw. Definition of floor area. The interior floor area of a dwelling unit, accessible basements, stairwells, halls, bathrooms, corridors, attics, walls, partitions, and attached accessory buildings. It creates a great deal of gyration when you're trying to do the calculations. So if you're saying it's 6,300 feet and the unit itself will be,
No, I believe it's around 1,400 square feet. If that. I wish the builder was here to give you that number.
It looks like it's just under half of the basement.
Yes, it's a little under half of the basement, exactly. The way it's, what page is that on? I knew I had it in there.
I can't find it.
I don't know, it's the last drawing that you have.
Oh. Last drawing.
Exhibit A1. That's the basement, and they're looking at using this for the apartment.
Well, you're welcome to, I'm just mine, but I can't read it.
It's roughly 2/5 of the downstairs area.
you do understand that when we give out these special permits for in-law apartments, it's for 5 years, and they have to be renewed. The main reason for that is to make sure that the only person that can live there, well, you can have up to 3 people, but at least one of whom has to be related by blood of marriage to the homeowner, and the homeowner has to live in the home. So, I mean, you qualify totally, that's not an issue. But they give it out for 5 years for 2 reasons. The first, again, to make sure that the person living there is in fact not just being a unit rented out. And number 2, that the neighbors have no complaints, because sometimes someone who's a relative of yours, if he happens to be 18 and have lots of friends, it can cause an issue.
I mean, she is known to have some wild parties, but
Oh, you refrain from that, do you?
Yes, I take the 5th.
wild parties going to bed at 9 p.m.
Okay, let's see what else we have to cover here. So you understand the duration, that it's a special permit.
Do we consider a half bathroom the same as a bathroom?
That's a good question, Lenny.
That'll bring it up to 5.
Bring up to 5.
Bathrooms,
Okay,
I think we only limit it to 4.
Limited to whatever the Board of Health.
Septic,
whatever,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, the septic's able to support the current bathrooms. They already checked that with the Board of Health.
How many are presently in the house?
1 people?
No,
Oh.
bathrooms.
1, 2.
How many?
Septics are based on bedroom count, not bathrooms. Because it's based on 2 occupants per bedroom. They could care less how many bathrooms you have, it's based on the bedroom count.
Oh, okay.
That's why we had the bedrooms. It was already deeded as a 4-bedroom. We can't obviously get rid of any area of the house, so we turned it into, that's just an office. I mean, we have like an extra bonus. There's probably rooms where you're not gonna even, you know what I mean? So,
No, you might have 12 children.
I don't know if we'll have 12, maybe 1 or 2. We have 1 now, but he's going, so. She probably got mad if I just said 2. I say 1 or 2 and she goes 2.
sort of fixed it, because the bedroom's on 28 over.
Okay. I'm just looking for what happened to my copy. I don't see it, but I have it online at home anyway to do it. Oh, guess what? Whoa. Okay, does anybody on the board have any questions? It seems like a worthy endeavor, does it not? Would someone like to make a motion? And I would ask that the motion say less than 35%, that it say I'm just going to say define allowable tenants. And limited to 5 years. Okay, does that cover? Up to 3, okay.
What are you saying? What's your motion?
Okay, so the motion is going to be whether whoever makes it to approve or not approve the in-law apartment at 237 Gates Pond Road with the following provisions.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Less than 35% of the total floor area.
Yep.
That limited to no more than 3 persons, at least one of which are related by blood or marriage.
Okay.
Outside appearance remains that of a single family.
Jesus, really?
And meets all requirements of other boards, including but not limited to the Board of Health.
Invalid
Which he
for a
already
period of
has.
5 years.
Huh?
Invalid for a period of 5 years.
You got it.
The last part, all requirements of other boards. What was that last part?
Valid for a period of 5 years.
Here we go.
I'll make that motion to approve.
I'll second.
It's a good thing because I hated going through all that list if it was. Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
I'll take that as unanimous unless otherwise told. And I'm slow. It might take me up to 2 weeks, but our illustrious building inspector is here, so I don't think he would hamper you at this point. You are in jeopardy until this gets filed with the town clerk and there's a 20-day waiting period. But no one has given any objection, no one has written to us. We've received no written or oral, and no one showed up, so I would say that.
They must have mad they had to go to the post office and.
I'm slow, but it usually takes me a couple of weeks to get, and then we have to get everybody to sign it, and then it has to go to the town clerk, and it's 20 days after it's filed with the town clerk, and we ask that you record it and then give a copy of that recording to the town clerk. Okay? You have to pay for that too. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All those opposed? I'll take that as a unanimous vote. So the building inspector may not be down your door, but you do understand that if there were someone to come forward, there is a little jeopardy there.
Okay.
I would, put $500 on it, but that it wouldn't happen. But there is a little jeopardy there until you actually get she'll send you a copy of the decision, but that's not the end of it. It has to wait that an extra 20 days, okay?
So it's a decision, then you wait 20 days, and then I come file it.
Does that
wait
already
20 days, and I come file it.
I have to write it, they have to sign it, okay? Then it gets filed in the town clerk's office. After it gets filed in the town clerk's office, she holds on to it for 20 days. It's a period of appeal. Because she will be sending the list of abutters, she'll be sending all of them a copy of the decision, and they have 20 days to go and say, I'm going to court over this, okay? But until the 20 days has passed, technically, you don't have that. Okay? And then you need to go and record it in the registry of deeds. And it is renewable. When we give it to you for like 5 years, it's not, I mean, we could refuse it the next time you come in if somebody says, it's not his mother living there, if his girlfriend is living there or something. Do you know what I mean?
His wife might have something to say about that.
She might. More worried about her than.
She might be the one complaining.
She'd appear at the hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're all set with us.
Okay.
And
Thanks, guys. I
you did a very,
appreciate it.
you did a very nice job. I appreciate the fact that you were able to answer all our questions, so we didn't have to continue this for 4 years.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, thank you.
Have a good night.
Let me know if you want the chickens.
You must be a good mother and you have a good son.
You do.
And it's wonderful to see you and your daughter-in-law get along so.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Good night
everybody.
now.
See you around.
What would you like to take first?
We have meeting minutes from October 9 and November 13th that need to be approved.
Okay, do we have them?
She sent them out to everybody.
Okay, but I mean, you don't have a copy
No.
here, okay. Does someone want to make a motion on October 9th
I move that we accept the minutes of October 9th.
as presented? Have they been run by Amy?
No idea.
Say
No
what?
idea here either. I don't.
Well, sometimes she likes to look at them too, so it may well be that we ended that if she's got it on here. Okay, so we've got a motion and a second to approve the minutes of October 9th.
Do we have a second?
Who seconded?
Okay. Who seconded it?
I don't know. I will if no one else did.
Go ahead.
Ginny wins.
I win. Okay.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? November 13th, I'll entertain a motion to approve as presented.
I move that we accept the minutes of
November 13th.
November 13th as printed.
Okay. All those in,
Second?
oh, with that, that's a good idea. Did you get that second?
I got that one that time. Getting green.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? It is a vote. Vote to approve the FY21 budget.
Yeah, I think we apparently went through this last month, but didn't actually vote on it.
It's $2,800 total. $2,200 for Leanne's part-time wages and $600 for purchases of services and other expenses.
So 22 is wages and 600 is expenses.
Expenses.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve a FY21 budget for $2,800.
I'll
Is there a
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're all set. I just wanted to point out something to you. We have an invoice for Mr. Miller's services.
There, you
And that doesn't go through?
Who
It
did
doesn't go to roads?
Yes.
He'll get a
Nobody.
copy of it.
He doesn't pay it?
He
Oh,
doesn't?
he does, but we have to, he is listing what he has done.
Oh, okay.
okay.
And what we're doing is saying, yes, he's done that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And yes, you can pay the invoice. The invoice is for a total of $6,192.60, and it covers his work through November 30th.
Okey dokey.
One of the reasons that I was, took Mr. Miller aside, okay, I had a concern. I know that Mr. Rhodes was a little muffed at the $7,500 we had him put in escrow. And to know that November 30th, they had expended over $6,000 of it, and that was only through the end of November.
Okay.
I was concerned that we were gonna go over the $7,500, and I wanted to ask him for it before we started the hearing tonight.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, by the end of.
Okay, so we're all willing to approve a budget to be paid from escrow of $6,192.60. And that is from Haley and Ward Incorporated. My friend here made some copies.
I made one, I didn't know I was gonna make two, but
Oh, okay.
this is what the Capes of Berlin has supposedly, is 750143.
Probably interest.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the amount in escrow, Denny?
Yes.
7501?
What's the amount that we're approving here?
What's that?
What was the amount we're approving?
6,000 something.
6192.60.
You're so good at this, Jenny.
Oh, thank you.
You should take minutes.
I'm a bookkeeper, I am a number sort of person.
But I was just concerned there was only $1,400 left, and that didn't include any work done in December, or any work that he might have had to do between now and then. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And again, that's to be paid from escrow. I honestly think we don't always get some of these bills, because the selectmen they get put on a warrant, and the selectmen just vote on it.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that we see them in case we have an objection.
Okay, I understand.
Do you know what I
I
mean?
think that's
Because
wise.
the selectmen have no idea what he's here for.
Exactly.
You're right.
Okay. I think, unless somebody else has something else, I have just a couple of things I
I
wanted
got
to
something
mention.
else.
Oh, okay, something else.
On Leanne's wages, this month it was $157.15.
We just have to note it at the meeting.
So say it again.
I'm paying Leanne's wages, and it came out to 7 hours, and it's $157.15.
I move that we give her a raise. Can we do that?
No.
The scale that she's on
Automatically.
is, it's not union, but it's across the board for everyone.
See, I used to get these, this is back in 15. Since we went to the other gizmo here, or however we're doing it, I see it on the balance sheets. I have not paid
She gets $22.45 an hour.
for quite a
That's
while.
not so bad.
No, well deserved.
I can check with June.
That would be my suggestion, and we can discuss it when we meet again.
Yeah.
I'm looking to see timing-wise, we have another application, and this is for 7 Olympia Avenue. Oh, that's their address.
That's those people.
Yeah. That's what we
We don't
just did.
have an
Oh, is it?
237.
Okay. I thought that, I'm looking at this piece here and I'm thinking, oh God, no.
That's where the package is.
That's where my package I was looking for was, okay. I just have a couple of more things if we
Yes,
could. I had asked Amy, and just make sure you get, have Leanne send it out, a date schedule so we know, like, what time we have in before we have to do what. There was a question on special permits, how long we had to approve a special permit. So she gave it to me anyway, you'll be getting that. Didn't you ladies agree to look at the regulations and rules or something? Weren't you guys gonna work on that stuff?
About what? Did I miss something?
Yeah, I missed it too, I think, Lynn.
Oh, okay. We need to update our rules and regulations, and I'd like you, if you could, to go out and take a look at what Acton has out there, because it states exactly how many copies of what you have to do when. And it's a nice format, and we need to update ours because they address what happens if you don't show up at a meeting type thing, which
Oh,
we
yeah.
don't.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I
Do you
remember
remember
now.
So they can get bounced or whatever.
And
Yes.
Acton, you feel is the best example to,
Well, Margaret actually gave me 4 of them, and I'm sure we could go to several others. And that was Egremont, E-G-R-E-M-O-N-T, Massachusetts.
that's far away.
She gave me Wenham,
Yeah, I know it.
W-E-N-H-A-M,
Yeah, that's where Groton House.
Springfield, and Acton. I only
Acton's the
looked at,
closest.
Yeah, okay.
I thought Acton, and I like
Yeah.
the format and everything.
Okay.
And
Okay.
maybe if you could look at it now, do you have that other copy of what they are in existence?
Yeah, I think I just looked at it. Where did I have it?
Yeah, that's okay if you have it, because I'm
Let's go around somewhere. What we want when we ask you to
Okay.
come here.
the
Oh, I
oth-
saw it too. Oh,
Poking around.
Yeah, but I like the way Acton did it and everything, and
okay.
if you thought it looked good and we could modify it, we have to
Oh,
modify
I'm
it
writing on it.
because,
Application instructions?
well,
And there's also a list of what we want.
yes,
Okay.
but if you take a look at Acton's, I
The
think
checklist, okay.
it's worthwhile, and if you like what you see, I would contact them and ask them if we can
Use it.
use their format.
Plagiarize.
But it'd have to be modified for a couple of reasons. I think they only have 3 members.
We can do that?
Just steal it.
I quit then.
We'll modify
I
it.
think you only gotta change like one word.
The other thing is, the 19th annual CPTC conference is Saturday, March 21st. Would you just mark it on your calendar?
Oh, that's the classes?
Yeah,
You could be hunting or something?
I'm gonna go on the big boat.
I'm getting my hair done that day.
Is this for classes?
You're not gonna wait that long, are
Is
you?
that, where do we go? Into Worcester?
Yes, these are the classes at Holy Cross and Worcester.
Oh, Holy Cross.
I think they're worthwhile. What do you think?
Depends. on
They
the
had a nice
class.
lunch.
Okay, we're gonna get you there sometime. They have fall ones. They have them online.
They didn't have any good ones online this year, though.
Oh, really?
No?
Have you already looked at it?
They do have good food though.
Okay, and if you want, they haven't got a schedule out there yet,
Okay.
but it's masscptc.org,
Yeah.
masscptc.org.
They send them about every 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, do you get it? Because
Yeah.
I thought it was only people who had gone.
And then we have Central Mass.
I think if you do
This
anything
is
on
your
their
little thing,
website at
so
all,
don't
they
use that.
steal your email address and start sending you junk mail.
Okay,
That they do.
so now, does anybody else have anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I vote to adjourn the meeting at 9:18.
18.
17, 18?
Much better than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, we worked quite quickly.
17.
Oh, wait a minute, one more thing.
No, sorry, we adjourned already.
Leanne left this for me. This is from the Department of Housing and Community Development,
Yeah.
God rest their souls. The Department of Housing and Community Development is in the process of updating the Chapter 40B subsidized housing inventory. And it goes on to talk about the methodology and
Oh, yeah.
stuff. So unless you have a specific interest, I won't bore you.
Can you send
Okay.
that via email?
I don't have it electronically, but you know what we could do? Because you can end up scanning it. This is for Berlin, okay? And right now, we're at 16.99%.
Oh my God.
Yay!
Woo-woo.
That's because of,
The apartments,
yes.
The
even though
Rockwell.
they're not occupied, oh, I guess,
They are at this certain units, they're not taking all of them.
But
Oh.
it's
84 of them they're taking right now.
oh,
Why? That's so interesting.
Because they're at a certain stage of development.
oh, okay. I get it.
I understand that totally. I don't want to discuss this on public television.
Oops. It would be censored.
Yes, well,
There go beep beep. Just go the beeps.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All those opposed? We're adjourned.